protect their jobs. What you're essentially advocating for, because you're being emotional, is to deprive them of their...
Okay, so I'm disappointed in your take on this because, of course, yes, you're smart and you always go by facts or whatever, blah, 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 and like to be a lot of words and stuff. But this one, you're like way out of pocket. You're way wrong. And I get your point. You kind of did point it out where obviously life, it's going to keep happening no matter what. But honestly, it just showed that you don't really care. You don't care about Hawaii. You don't care about Hawaiians or basically those who live there. You care mostly more so about the tourists. Just because they give money towards a Hawaii. And you're like, oh, but you know, they benefit from it. What do they benefit from? Obviously, yes, the businesses and, you know, etc. coming to Hawaii, yes, they benefit from it. But you don't realize what makes it funny and baffling, because obviously there's some like people who live in Hawaii where they have more rights or benefits than those who actually live there. It's like what? I was like, this was such an ignorant like take on yours. It's like, don't say anything at all if you don't really have anything to say other than like, oh, let me Google some facts and all that. You don't know nothing about Hawaii or anything. Not saying that you have to, but like, sure, you also will stand up for your people and being Mexican and Mexico and stuff and the thing that's happening over there. But would you do the same for Hawaii? Obviously not, because you're not from there, you don't understand, so you're just gonna say whatever and be like, oh, the tourists, why are you so emotional, etc. and all that. But it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, I did not want to have to do this video because I don't know how to make a smart take, because obviously you like to just stay with facts and blah blah blah. But it's like, you were kind of wrong on this, because you were really ignorant in how you were seeing it. It's deeper than just tourists. It's basically, there's an anger, kind of like a, what's the word? Anger. I wouldn't say jealousy, but like anger. It's like there's basically, it's still an open wound, and this situation right now in Hawaii that's happening in Maui kind of put it in the full front of this issue that they've had since for years and in history for it's a long history. Like it's deeper than just thinking it's just tourists and thinking that, you know, and basically they're coming to Hawaii and, you know, like, oh, you know, Hawaii, they're always, you know, aloha spirit and Hawaii, and, you know, welcoming and, you know, wanting to everybody, you know, one love and all that. But it's like, you don't understand the other side of why, the reason why they're pissed, or, you know, they don't like tourists or what's called outsiders or haoles or etc. Because do you not know the history in Hawaii? They obviously like they overthrown like Hawaii, like they're and etc. I don't know the whole history. I lived in Hawaii obviously, but that's when I was growing up, but back and forth. And it's like, obviously you don't know because you don't care. You don't care enough to, you're more so on the tourist side than you are on basically those who are basically the victims or the ones who are going through something and etc. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, like trying to say, oh, I want to see what her thoughts were on the situation at hand. But I was like, dang, I was like, that's what you thought. You were more, so what I got from it was that you didn't care. You don't stand with Hawaii. Obviously, I'm not saying you had to, but it's like, now it's like, make me see your situation, like how you always trying to stand up for things, and obviously you being Mexican and Mexico, blah blah blah. But I'm like, so this is the same obviously with mine's one where I take it personal because I'm Polynesian mix, and you know, I lived in Hawaii a little bit. I never been to, what's it called, Maui, but I went to the airport. Okay, I don't want to distract from what I'm trying to say, but I guess what I'm saying is that you kind of, like, when I was watching your video about you trying to stand up to where an African American talking about the bad side of Mexico or something like that, and then you're like saying, but you're benefiting on, you know, the Mexicans who are, you know, and you're living off of that. And I'm like, and I was like, I want to say the irony, but it's like the hypocrisy that you were saying, like, the fact that you were doing this, you're obviously you're a people, but the fact that it's happening like in Hawaii and the natives, obviously you're ignorant on this topic, but basically, and the fact that I was like, oh my gosh, does he not realize she was doing that? You're saying that to that African American chick, but what you said to her is actually what I'm basically thinking about of you, basically. So I'm like, ugh. So basically, I don't know, but I didn't like your take on the situation in Hawaii, and it was kind of a disappointing like take. It was like no point of you doing that other than to just make more fuel for those who are not from Hawaii or not Hawaiian or whatever, or what they're going through. I get, yes, it is emotional, and it is kind of, it's not every day that you see something like a fire happening, and you know, like this, what's happening in Hawaii right now. I hope, obviously, the Aloha Spirit will, you know, reign through, and it will come back 10 times stronger for Hawaii and the people there and the natives. And I hope this will, you know, even though, yes, it will bring open wounds to the forefront of the things that's been simmering since for decades or for years and stuff about this situation, about outsiders and mainlanders, or, you know, basically tourists, basically. Yes, you can say, you can look at the positive side, but you're also not looking at the negative side to what they're going through. And that's the part that I didn't like, that you did not understand. And the fact that you said in the comments, replying to other people, when they said, yeah, it's basically where, like, the business or whatever, or the ones who are only complaining about, you know, tourists, or basically, you know, whatever, it's the locals, and you basically just said it's only the ones who are jobless. No, it's the native Hawaiians, because that's their land, and the fact that it was taken away from them, and obviously, obviously, I don't think you do know, but it was taken away from them, obviously, it was, and not, I mean, yeah, there's pros and cons to, like, you know, I'm glad that Hawaii's part of the state, but some obviously don't agree with that. But it's like, you forget the history. It's like you don't know the history, obviously, on why it is the way it is, and why they're angry, or why they have this, I don't know, like, basically like that's why there's the word kapu in Hawaiian. It was like, you know, stay out, keep out, whatever, you know, like those signs where it's like warning signs. Okay, I'm only getting distracted, but all I'm saying is that I did not like this TikToker's take on the situation at hand. She could have just said she didn't care about Hawaii or the natives or the locals, and just said, you know, tourists, you know, I mean, do you not realize they're going through a situation right now? And if people who are obviously, yes, they paid for, obviously, yeah, that's obviously, you know, like, where, oh, I paid for this, but like, now I'm gonna go take pictures of the situation. Do you not realize the resources? People had to make way for freaking tourists to for the island, and the people who are going through the stuff over there right now. It's kind of baffling, and kind of, do you not realize how they'll look, and it'll make it look worse on the tourists, because now it's like, wow, they're gonna get, like, they get to just go on their merry way and just, like, look at the disaster that's happening right now in freaking it's like going to an accident or something. Like, be like, oh, let me just, but I mean, I get, okay, so it is kind of confusing, because it's like, oh, but they already paid for it, but you're like not understanding the deeper issue that it's just gonna makes it more worser on both ends, for the tourists and for the locals. For the resources, I was watching the Hawaii news or something, and basically they were saying that they had to, like, some tourists had to, like, you know, like, they're coming through and, like, trying to take pictures and all that, and etc. The situation, like, oh my gosh, you know, whatever. And do you think that what do you think that is? Do you think, like, oh, because I paid for it, I'm gonna, like, I don't know. It was like your take on this was like so deaf, like, what's it called? Like, so blind and ignorant. And usually I don't mind your takes, because usually you always have facts and you're smart on your side. But this one, you'd had nothing on the side. So it was like, just don't talk at all. You don't understand anything. And I get it is emotional. I think that's where I understand your point from, and the fact that, you know, life goes on. But it just makes it worse with the situation at hand, why it can be, you know, baffling. And, you know, it's kind of hard to, it's going to make it worse, the situation of what the locals and the Native Hawaiians and the people in Hawaii are dealing with right now, for the tourists and etc. But I do hope this helps Hawaii to become stronger, and to realize what is important in the Aloha Spirit over there, and I hope this reminds them of what stays true and what stays strong and what they need to work on. And even, yes, it did definitely bring some open wounds to come to the forefront, especially with the outsiders and the tourists, or just not in tourists in general, just basically those who, there's a reason why they feel the way they feel. And it's like, I realize you were not understanding that, and of course you're going to understand it with your people, because that's your people. I get that, but it's like, that's where I realized you just didn't get anything. You don't understand anything of this. You